there are additional sensitivities here for her because she is a veteran and she continues to serve in the military. And I think that she potentially takes these kind of insults, being called treasonous, really seriously, given that she, unlike a lot of the people who are throwing this accusation at her, has taken an oath to defend the country and has done so. I remember when this happened in the context of the Bernie campaign, Bernie issued a statement saying that it was widely inappropriate to accuse a veteran like Tulsi of being treasonous, especially when you can't prove it's true. So while you or I might not decide to litigate over this, we might be able to take our slings and arrows on Twitter. I can appreciate why someone, especially maybe someone who's posturing for a certain kind of political office in the future, might be attempting to clear the record.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the emotion behind it. I understand that it doesn't feel good to be called a Putin puppet or a Russian asset or a traitor to the country. And I do think it's way more problematic for Mitt Romney to be making these claims rather than Keith Olbermann. And like I said, he's of no consequence. But Mitt Romney's a sitting senator. So, having a sitting senator call you a traitor or treasonous to the country is much more, he's much more high profile. He has a platform, obviously. But that, I mean, you should be allowed to point to, if I get elected to Congress, if you get elected to Congress, we both should be allowed to point to Nancy Pelosi and say, oh, she's, bought off, and say all kinds of things that maybe she doesn't like and maybe doesn't make her feel good. But we're allowed to do it. And so I think where it becomes much more of maybe something where she could litigate and send a cease and desist and it becomes a real problem is if I think there's more gray room when, for example, when Hillary Clinton said it, because she had much higher security clearance. So when she says something, maybe you could say she's in a position of power and knowledge that other people are not in. And because of that, when she makes a claim, people have a tendency to take her opinion above other people's because of the knowledge that she has the highest level of security clearance. So that might be a case I think you could make. But just Tulsi she's been called many, many names by many, many people. We can't go after all of them. But not only that, I do worry what it does on the flip side when you want to call somebody a name, that they're not happy with. Are we just going to go around and suing everybody or sending cease and desist letters to everybody? I get it. It's,
For the record, I would love it if Nancy Pelosi wanted to file legal charges against me for some very truthful thing I've said about her. Because look what just happened. I don't know if you've been following this case between Omarosa and Donald Trump. He sued her over statements that she made in her book that he said were untrue. She won the lawsuit and just won a significant chunk of money as a consequence. So to your point, Kim, people are really, taking their bank accounts in their own hands when they decide to sue over these kinds of statements, because so often it's difficult to prove that they aren't in fact true.
Well, and not only that, you have to prove that harm. So they were trying to harm you, not just trying to hurt your feelings. But there's a lot of layers,
right?
Because I think any of us in the public spotlight have thought about a time or two, maybe I should go after this person that just wrote something terrible about me. And I've had articles written that are that feel to me libelous or slanderous, right? But it's such a difficult thing to have to go through in court to prove it. But, a lot of times when they send these cease and desists, they're just meant to try to scare you, to try to get you to stop so that you don't want to go into a lawsuit because it's costly. Everybody loses in a lawsuit except for the lawyers.
Except for the lawyers.
So, they make all the money. Nobody else does. Everybody else loses. But, I get it. I feel for her. I don't agree with these smears against her at all. I think we have just devolved in American discourse, and that is a real shame. That culture needs to shift. I don't know if suing each other is the way to get out of that culture, but certainly the culture needs to change.